What would you do if your opponents feared you as a monster, but your own brothers in arms branded you a traitor? This is the storm-ridden life of Randy White, the NFL legend known as the Manster. He conquered the ultimate peak of the Super Bowl, shattering defenses with devastating power, only to be bitterly labeled Captain Scab after a single shocking choice. Yet, none of that gridiron heartbreak compared to the most brutal, tragic battle of his life once the stadium lights went dark. Randall Lee White was born on January 15, 1953, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Not long after, his family moved to Wilmington, Delaware, a quiet, industrial city that did not produce many professional athletes and did not expect to. Randy grew up in that world of ordinary people who worked hard and expected nothing to be handed to them. His father was his first coach in every sense of the word, not because the man drew plays on a chalkboard, but because of the lessons he taught through the way he lived. According to those who knew the family, Randy's father never missed a single game his son played from the very beginning. And the lessons he passed down were simple but permanent. Never quit, never do anything halfway, always finish what you start, put the team before yourself, and above everything else, stay humble. That last lesson would define Randy White for the rest of his life, even when the world was screaming his name. At Thomas McKean High School in Wilmington, Randy began to stand out as a football player. He was big, he was fast for his size, and he played with an intensity that made opponents uncomfortable. But here is something that tells you everything about how the football world saw him at that stage. When it came time for college recruitment, only 3 universities expressed serious interest, not dozens. Not a long list of powerhouse programs, 3. Randy chose the University of Maryland, and at the time, almost no one outside of Wilmington, Delaware, had any reason to believe that decision would one day lead to a Hall of Fame career. But Randy believed. One of his former tutors at Maryland later recalled that even as a young student, White told people around him directly and without hesitation, "I am going to be a first-round draft pick, and I am going to be an all-pro." To most people hearing that, it might have sounded like the talk of a young man with more confidence than sense. But Randy White was not talking to impress anyone. He was making a promise to himself, the same kind of quiet, unshakable promise his father had taught him to make and keep. What made that belief extraordinary was not the outcome. It was where it came from. Not from a life of advantages, not from the attention of major programs, not from anyone telling him he was destined for greatness. It came from somewhere inside, from a work ethic planted by a father in a working-class city who never missed a game and always told his son, "Finish what you start." If you have someone in your life who believed in you before anyone else did, a parent, a coach, a teacher, drop their name in the comments below. Because Randy White's story starts with exactly that kind of person. Here is a fact that even dedicated football fans often do not know. Randy White arrived at the University of Maryland not as a defensive player, but as a fullback. A fullback. One of the most physical positions on offense, a runner, a blocker, a battering ram in human form. That was the role he was recruited to fill. During his freshman year in 1972, Maryland's rules allowed players to participate on both sides of the ball, and White played both ways. But when head coach Jerry Claiborne took over in White's sophomore year, he looked at this large, explosive, almost frighteningly athletic young man and immediately moved him to defensive end in a system called the wide tackle 6. That decision changed everything. White later described why the position felt so natural. "We had a lot of freedom in that system. I could pursue the ball like a linebacker, but I did not have to drop into pass coverage. I could run all over the field and make plays." What Claiborne had seen was something rare, a player whose instincts, speed, and physical power were perfectly suited for attacking the offense rather than running it. But it was what Randy White did with that opportunity that truly tells the story. When he arrived at Maryland, he could bench press 225 pounds. When he left, that number was 450 pounds. His 40-yard dash time improved from 4.9 seconds to 4.6 seconds. He ran alongside the university's track athletes to develop his speed further. His position coach made sure players understood that education mattered too, that football was not the only reason they were there. By his senior year in 1974, Randy White was not just good, he was the best interior lineman in the entire country. He won the Outland Trophy, awarded to college football's outstanding lineman. He won the Lombardi Award, given to the nation's top lineman or linebacker. He was named Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Year, And he was a unanimous All-American selection, meaning every major panel that voted agreed without exception. Think about that journey. A fullback from a small Delaware city that only 3 colleges wanted wins every major award a college defensive lineman can win. And yet, as you will see, this was only the first time Randy White would prove the world wrong about where he belonged. Can you guess what happened when he arrived in Dallas? Leave your prediction in the comments, because what the Cowboys did with him next is something no one in professional football would have scripted. The 1975 National Football League draft was historic. Dallas Cowboys head coach Tom Landry and his staff had assembled what became known as the Dirty Dozen. 12 rookie players selected that year who would go on to shape the franchise. Randy White was the centerpiece. Chosen 2nd overall in the entire draft, he was the Cowboys' top pick and one of the most celebrated prospects in the country. And Tom Landry put him at middle linebacker. Not defensive tackle, not defensive end, the position he had just dominated at the college level well enough to win every major award. Linebacker. A position requiring different instincts, different footwork, different thinking. A position where Randy White, by his own honest admission, never felt comfortable for a single day. For 2 full seasons, the 2nd overall pick in the draft was mostly playing on special teams and learning a position that did not fit him. His first season ended with the Cowboys losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl X, and White watched most of it from the sideline, a backup with enormous potential and nowhere to put it. Coming out of college, a lot was expected of me, White said later, but I never did feel comfortable playing linebacker. Those first 2 years, I was fighting for my life out there. Fighting for his life. Those are not the words of a man coasting on his reputation. Those are the words of someone genuinely lost someone who knew what he was capable of but could not access it because the system around him had not found the right place for him yet. Now here's the part of this story that almost no one talks about. Tom Landry had a reputation in football that was nearly mythological. He was precise, controlled, and not known for changing his mind. After 29 years on the Cowboys sideline, his legacy would include 270 wins, 5 Super Bowl appearances, and 20 consecutive winning seasons. He was not the kind of man you walked into a room and told what to do differently. But after 2 seasons of frustration, Randy White did exactly that. He went to Landry's office and made the case calmly, directly, that he should be moved back to defensive tackle. And Tom Landry, the man they called Old Stoneface, listened and agreed. That single conversation between a struggling young player and an immovable veteran coach produced one of the most dominant defensive careers in the history of the National Football League. In his very first season at defensive tackle in 1977, White made the Pro Bowl and was named first-team All-Pro. From that moment forward, he never looked back. If you were in Randy's position, 2 years of frustration, an enormous reputation on the line, would you have had the courage to walk into that office? Tell us in the comments. January 15th, 1978. It is the day Randy White turns 25 years old. It is also the day of Super Bowl XII, played in New Orleans, Louisiana. The Dallas Cowboys face the Denver Broncos. And what happens over the next 3 hours will become one of the most dominant defensive performances in Super Bowl history. The Cowboys' defense suffocates Denver completely. The Broncos commit 8 turnovers. Their quarterback completes only 8 passes for 61 total yards, a number so low it is almost difficult to believe in the context of a championship game. Dallas wins 27-10, and it is not as close as the final score suggests. At the center of that destruction is Randy White. He and fellow defensive lineman Harvey Martin are everywhere, through blockers, around blockers, past blockers, making the Denver offense look like it is playing against a force of nature rather than a football team. Martin alone records what historians estimate at 23 sacks for the entire season leading into this game. Together, they rendered the opposing offense almost helpless. After the final whistle, something happens that has never happened before in Super Bowl history and has never happened since. The league names 2 co-most valuable players, Randy White and Harvey Martin, making them the first defensive linemen in history to share that honor. On the day Randy White turns 25 years old, he receives the most prestigious individual award in American championship football. But the moment Randy has carried with him ever since is not about the trophy. It is what Harvey Martin did immediately after the game ended. Martin walked over, wrapped his arm around his teammate, and said simply, "Hey man, we are the co-most valuable players of this game." The photograph of that moment ended up on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And as Randy would say decades later, that was not a pose. That was not arranged for the camera. That was a genuine moment between two men who had just achieved something no one like them had ever done before. On his 25th birthday, the kid from Wilmington that only 3 colleges wanted, the man who spent 2 years fighting to survive in Dallas, stood at the top of the sport. What is the most unexpected day of your life that turned into something you will never forget? Share it in the comments, because Randy White's greatest day arrived exactly when no one was expecting it. September 11th, 2001, New England Patriots quarterback Drew Bledsoe takes a violent hit from New York Jets linebacker Mo Lewis. The injury is severe. Bledsoe is rushed to the hospital with a sheared blood vessel. His season is over. Tom Brady walks onto the field, and he never walks off as a backup again. What follows is one of the most remarkable rises in the history of professional sports. Brady is not supposed to be the answer. He is the 6th-round afterthought, the slow kid from the combine, the system quarterback who cannot drive the ball downfield. But from the moment he takes over, something shifts. He does not play like a 6th-round pick. He plays like someone who has been waiting for this moment for his entire life, because he has. The Patriots win game after game. They finish the regular season and enter the playoffs, and they reach Super Bowl 36 against the Street. Louis Rams, a team so dominant that they are nicknamed the greatest show on turf. New England is a heavy underdog. No one outside the Patriots locker room believes they can win. With less than 2 minutes remaining and the game tied at 17, Brady takes the field. The Patriots have no timeouts. The legendary broadcaster John Madden tells the national television audience that New England should simply run out the clock and play for overtime. Brady does not play for overtime. He moves his offense methodically down the field. He is calm, he is precise. He stops the clock at the Rams' 30-yard line with 7 seconds remaining. The field goal goes through. The Patriots win. Brady becomes, at 24 years old, the youngest quarterback in NFL history to win a Super Bowl at that time. But here's the detail that almost no one talks about. The morning after that championship, Drew Bledsoe, the man Brady replaced, the man who watched his career change course through no fault of his own, rides a ski lift alone in Montana. He puts on his helmet and his goggles. He sits by himself, and he cries. Later, Brady speaks about what Bledsoe gave him without ever being asked. Brady says that watching Drew go through that taught him something permanent about the sport. He says there is nothing you can accomplish in football without everyone around you. Not the plays, not the wins, nothing. That is not what most champions say after their first title. That is what a leader says. February 5th, 2017, Houston, Texas, Super Bowl 51. Before we talk about the game, you need to know what is happening off the field, because the score on the scoreboard is only half the story. The entire 2016 season has been the hardest of Brady's life. He serves a 4-game suspension after a prolonged dispute with the NFL over allegations regarding football equipment. 3 federal judges uphold the suspension. Brady eventually stops fighting the process, and people close to him say privately that a large part of the reason is his mother. Her name is Galen Brady, and she has been diagnosed simultaneously with breast cancer and a blood cancer called myeloma. The entire Brady family keeps this information private throughout the season. While Brady is being criticized publicly, while the suspension plays out in courtrooms and headlines, he is also traveling as often as possible to be with his mother. He says during this period that the time away from football gives him perspective. He says he realizes that being with his family during a vulnerable time is what matters most. His mother does not attend a single regular season game that year. His father attends just one. The treatment is ongoing. The uncertainty is constant. Then the Patriots reach Super Bowl 51. Galen Brady makes the trip to Houston. It is the first game she attends all season. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft speaks to Brady in the locker room before the game. He says, "We have to win this one for your mother, because she has been through chemotherapy and radiation, and this is the first game she has been able to come to." The game begins, and it becomes a disaster. By the third quarter, the Atlanta Falcons lead 28-3. No team in Super Bowl history has ever overcome a deficit that large. Commentators begin writing the closing paragraphs of what they expect will be Brady's worst performance on the biggest stage. Wide receiver Julian Edelman tells Brady and the offensive coordinator quietly that he believes they are going to come back. He says it will be a remarkable story. What happens next is the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. New England scores 25 unanswered points to tie the game. They win in overtime. Brady completes 43 of 62 passes for 466 yards. He breaks the Super Bowl records for completions, attempts, and passing yards all in a single game. But the moment that defines the night is not a statistic. After the final whistle, Brady finds his mother in the crowd. Galen Brady is wearing a head covering from her treatments. And her son, the man who just led the greatest comeback in championship history, holds her and cries. Brady says later, after the game, giving her a hug, with my dad and everyone in tears, it was just a really emotional time. If there is someone in your life you would dedicate a moment like that to, drop their name in the comments below. This one is for them. February 1st, 2022. Tom Brady announces his retirement from professional football. He is 44 years old. He has 7 championship rings. He holds the records for career passing yards, career touchdown passes, and quarterback wins. There is nothing left to prove. 40 days later, he reverses the decision. He says he has unfinished business. He returns to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 23rd season in the league. And this single choice made in the span of 40 days sets in motion the final and most painful chapter of his life as a public figure. His marriage to Brazilian model Gisele Bündchen, which has lasted 13 years, does not survive the reversal. Gisele had supported the retirement publicly and warmly. When Brady undoes it, the tension that has been building for years reaches a breaking point. In October of 2022, the couple finalizes their divorce. In one of the most honest interviews of his post-retirement life, Brady sits with broadcaster Colin Cowherd and does not hide from the question. He says his final season was tough. He says he was going through a personal family situation. He says it took a great deal out of him in terms of his ability to play. That season, the Buccaneers finished with a record of 8 wins and 9 losses. It is the first losing season of Brady's entire professional career. Off the field, Brady lives by a set of habits that the world finds equal parts admirable and bewildering. He follows a strict personal nutrition plan that eliminates most processed foods and relies heavily on vegetables, lean protein, and specific preparation methods. He owns 3 food dehydrators. He makes his own granola. He is so committed to this approach that some teammates once compared the culture around it to a dedicated community with very strict beliefs. And yet, when asked in a personal interview what food he absolutely cannot live without, Brady does not say anything from his strict plan. He says chocolate ice cream, chocolate lava cake. He says he is sorry, but he is completely devoted to it. That detail matters because it reminds us of something important. Behind every record and every ring, there is a person, a real one. Who gets tired, who makes hard choices, who loses things he loves, and who still somehow gets up the next morning. Go back to that summer in 1995. A 17-year-old from California is standing at a crossroads. Professional baseball on one side, an uncertain football scholarship on the other. He chooses the uncertain path. And from that single decision, everything else follows. The 7 years of being passed over and overlooked. The scouting report that said he could not throw a tight spiral. The 198th player who was considered a better option. The 3 years on the bench at Michigan. The 40 days of retirement that cost him his marriage. The tears on his mother's shoulder after the greatest comeback the sport had ever seen. None of it was supposed to happen the way it did. And that is exactly the point. Tom Brady is not a story about talent. He is a story about what happens when someone refuses to accept the version of themselves that other people have decided is the final version. Every time someone handed him a ceiling, he treated it like a floor and kept building upward. The scouting report still gets him fired up, 20+ years later, because he never stopped needing it to. If this story moves something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And tell me in the comments, what is the one moment in your life when someone underestimated you, and what did you do about it? The next story is already waiting. See you there.